What's good? What's good?
All right, we here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Make sure I'm on the right
How about you?
microphone though. Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah, I hear you good.
All
All right, bro. We both got hair on power level 10 today. I'm feeling
right.
it. Let's go. I just took
Yeah.
my braids out. I'm
Yeah.
feeling like Afro Samurai in this joint.
You gotta let it breathe from time to time. You feel
Yeah,
me?
you gotta let the scalp breathe, let the roots bleed. I'm about to put some product and wash it out in a little bit. I haven't taken it out in a while. I'm feeling good, bro. This is my quarantine hair. I haven't cut my hair since everything popped off. So that's what this is represents to me now.
About the quarantine.
Yeah, bro.
Quarantine dreads.
Because there was a minute there where you couldn't even because nothing was open, right? So Mugs was growing out they was wolfing it, because you couldn't get a haircut. But then after that period ended, I'm like, you know what? I'm just not gonna get a haircut. You're just gonna keep it going, bro. So that's where we at today. Anyway, how you been, bro? How you
The
feeling
side,
today?
man. The sun out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Looked at my plant. It's growing prosperous, so I'm feeling pretty good, man. Life life gives you another day, another opportunity to just continue. So
Facts, 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 facts.
I'm
That's
always
love, bro.
thankful. Always thankful for waking up. So,
Gotta
I
be.
go.
Got
How.
to. All right. So I'm thinking we could talk a little bit about community today, or like the aspect of maybe part community and part transparency. Like I think those are two kind of interchanging ideas in regards to mental health. And the first question I have for you was, how do you, because I remember last week we were talking about how do you get through like tough situations, right? Like you was talking about Job and just like we were trying to think like, how do you get through that? And one of the things I thought of after we recorded, I'm thinking, well, family and friends obviously is some things that should be that you should have access to that in order to go through things, but today it feels like we're more disconnected than ever. So I'm trying to think, how do we rectify those two things, and understanding that we need community to thrive and to be mentally healthy, but also understanding the reality of today, which is that most people might not have more than one person in their corner, if that. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people are just out here solo. And I don't know, like, what do you think about that? And how do we fix that? Or I don't know, just some thoughts on it, maybe.
Me personally, I could be solo, just knowing that I'm necessarily never alone. It's kind of a walk through any situation with just me, knowing that I always got the
It's got you,
spirit
man.
beside me, man. So it's like
Truth.
even when I
Truth.
find myself, like I could find myself entertaining, I could find me doing something creative, as far as engaging with whatever abilities that I have, God given. It's like that's what is the connection more to. Like I don't need to have my phone
Mm,
by me talking to somebody every 10 seconds, you feel me? So it's just like I
I
can
feel
go
that.
draw, I could go make a song, I can go
Mm,
stitch a shirt, or like playing basketball, hobbies, just finding something that takes your mind off of whatever your 9 to 5 is, or just however you express yourself. Like figure out more ways you can express yourself in a healthy manner, and just build it.
true. That's truth. I think that maybe I missed that because I'm thinking there's an infinite there's infinity outside, right? Like infinity where everything is external, but then there's an infinity inside you too. And if you learn to connect with that, then you should never really be bored. I think that there's a difference between loneliness and solitude, and maybe that's what you've been hitting on a little bit. It's like that idea of being alone, but that not necessarily meaning that you're lonely. It just means that you alone. There's some people who are around people all the time and they're lonely. And then there's some people that are by themselves all the time and they, they lit. So it really just depends on your mindset, I guess. Um, I don't know, bro, because when you're going through something, it's tough because you can, I don't know. I know creation definitely helps. Making something is definitely helpful, but I don't know. It just feels like to me, like having somebody who at least understands you could be pivotal. Because if you on an island and you struggling, in the story of Job, it was kind of interesting because they were talking about all his family members was and all his friends that came through. They weren't really in his corner. Like if you reread the story, all of them were kind of chastising him. Like, yo, you gotta just get your stuff together, bro. Get your shit together, bro. Do this, do that, do the other. And he was like, yo, y'all don't see me. I'm like basically dead here. Like my whole family, my whole flock, everything is gone. I'm over here just in ashes and the sackcloth, and my face is breaking out. And this is what y'all coming to tell me that I need to fix this, that, and the other. And that to me almost feels like the way we are today. Like you see somebody falling or drowning on the ground, instead of helping them up, you want to tell them what they're doing wrong or how they need to improve. And it's like, really? That's the top priority for you? I don't know. I feel like we just need to help each other more, bro. Like that should be
Define
the
help.
natural thing. Mm,
And that's where I feel like we just got to go back to the basic functions of things, because words don't even mean the same anymore, especially how people show them.
they
You
don't.
know, it gets to a point where communication, yeah, we're saying the same words, but we got different attitudes and different values towards those, you know,
That's true. Everything.
characters.
Like when somebody says I love you, what does that mean for real? Like unless you know where that person is
Exactly.
coming from, it can mean a whole bunch of things. Because that person probably also loves Doritos, right? And then so I don't want to be on the same level as Doritos. I kind of want to have some sort of, but at the same time, the way we have devalued love today, maybe I do want to be the Doritos because the way that we show love in many ways is very destructive. So I don't know, man. Like it's like the only place, like
You
the
said
only place that you can. You said what?
I said you said one word, value.
Oh, true. How do we value things? And not the price of it either, like the value, because we've reduced everything to price, but that's not the same thing. You feel me? It's like we've made everything a transaction, like a monetary transaction. Even sex has become a monetary transaction. Just going to log OnlyFans or do premium on Pornhub or something like that, right? And so if that's the case, what is the value of sex? Now, before, where it could have been like a tantric, energy inducing, love creating experience, today is just a way to get off if you're bored or to assert your dominance over a woman or a man, whatever your you know thing is. And so it's like the role of sex as a creative force has been diminished. The role of sex as a love making experiment has been diminished. Now people don't even know what love is. So what am I making love for? I'm just trying to fuck, bro. I'm just trying to hit my nigga. And it's like, so what are we doing here? I mean, I get it because at the end of the day, we are human beings. We have these physical bodies that have these needs, but it's like we also are spiritual beings, and that spirit body needs something too, and it needs that love. And if we deprive our spirit body and only feed our physical body, we end up where we're at today. In my opinion, like I feel like where we're at today is because we have starved ourselves spiritually. We starved every part of our spiritual self from connection. We've severed it from others, from God, from self. We've severed all the connections. And so now we're just out here kind of like wafting in a river and being taken by whether it's public opinion or your group of friends and what they say. However, it's like very rare to find a real individual today. And I think that's because we're all just so dependent on, I don't know, it's like we don't really know who we are. I don't know. It's crazy, bro.
Shoot, you just hit on all the keys for the topic: community, sex, everybody lending out a helping hand, like everybody being able to cooperate together in a sense of bettering a community. It
Yeah.
it seems like it's lacking.
How does that
Yeah.
connect to mental health in terms of individual?
It goes in turn of what you value. Now we got all these tools per se
Mhm.
with the creation of technology.
Right.
What do these kids value growing up now? What are they gonna operate off of? What are they gonna know what to do? How are they gonna know how to survive in certain
The generation
environments?
after us is being programmed by Apple OS. That's what they're gonna be, bro. They're gonna have the operating system in their brains to the point where they are now pieces of data. That's where we're headed. Where our bodies are not, where they're no longer ours. Even though we were born into this world free, we are going to exit slaves according to this new great reset, whatever they call it. That's what they want to do. And that's not even conspiracy. That's they wrote a whole book called The Great Reset and they published it. So at this point, they telling us, yeah, we want to put chips in your brain and control y'all. And everybody's gonna be in these communes and you're not gonna own anything and you'll be happy and like all these things. And it's like, wait a second, did I have any option in this? And how is this gonna affect like relationships? How is this gonna affect me mentally? How is this gonna affect spiritually? Like
My physical body, like how long can this last? Like, has this ever been done before? What happened last time?
you think that they don't care about that though. I mean, at the end of the day, they just care about control. So what we do determines in many ways what they do. Have you ever heard of Schrodinger's cat or the slit test maybe? The slit test. It's a quantum physics or maybe quantum mechanics. I can't remember. I learned about this last year reading the book. And it's just a phenomenon that happens when you put light through a slit on a piece of paper. It should show up on the other end of the wall with just one slit.
Mm.
But what happens is like you get multiple slits, and it depends on if you're looking at it or not. And it's not just light. I think they use like some sort of electrons and they measure it very precisely. But essentially, what happens is depending on whether or not you're perceiving, it changes. That's the whole point. So you can have one slit or you can have multiple, and it all kind of depends on whether or not you're watching it. And it doesn't make logical sense to me. I still have to try to break this down for how it actually works, because the implication to me means we are all interconnected, and how we view it's like that question: if a forest or if a tree falls in a forest and nobody sees it, did it make a sound, type of thing. And I think the answer is yes, falling trees make noise, but you could also make the argument that if there was no one there to see it or perceive it, how real is it really? Because reality in many
Mm.
ways is constructed by our conscious awareness of a thing. So it's like, well, which one do you take? You taking it, yeah, it makes a noise because it's a physical thing, and or no, because you didn't perceive it, so it didn't exist. And you can make an argument either way. And that's why that's such an interesting question. But I don't know, like maybe that somehow ties into the fact that because we don't see each other, we don't recognize the potential. We don't really know each other yet. So we don't recognize how we could be connected. We only see what they want us to see about each other. So we only see, oh, these folks are whatever, these people are whatever. And we never say it out loud because that would mess up the whole game. So we just keep it in. But then they play off of that. They play off of those prejudices that we keep inside of our heads. And then they inflame them at the right moments. They poke and prod it. They'll give you a little fight between a little white boy and a little black boy and make everybody talk about it for a week when it has no bearing on policy and how we actually get out from underneath systematic racism. But oh man, that Jake Paul kid knocked out Nate Robinson, this racist. That's what we're doing, because we're not thinking big picture. We're just thinking little segments of time. We just take him out and we just go, yeah, got him. It's like the whole time we getting played like little puppets on a string. And so my whole thing is, yo, we got to get off the string, but I can't I can't make people get off, right? It's one of those things where people have to choose. That's part of why it's tough, because you see how people are struggling and you want to help them and you want to tell them, yo, there is another way, but you can't make them take that other way, even though it's better for them. You can only try to stay in love and try to keep explaining. And hopefully, eventually, people get it. But most people, like, I don't know, they're so opposed to what the truth may be that as soon as they hear even a whisper of it, they just shut it down. They don't even want to hear it. So I don't know if you've had any experiences with that. Probably just given how we speak on things, but it just seems like in order to get to that relationship part, we got to actually be honest with each other, and I don't see that happening.
The irony is just about the whole situation of what you spoke on. I was there to hear a tree falling in the forest and
Oh
witness.
yeah.
And like, so even with
My charger though.
we were speaking about just witnessing, in the community efforts,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, a tree falling, and like, nah, trees don't fall in the forest, and you can't hear it. Like you literally trying to deny that this tree fell, even when it's on the ground, and even when you're saying, hey, let's build something here. How can we deny our own
That's another way to look
life-giving
at it.
at this point, our children? Like, they're the most important. They're what comes next. Our community. What are they being influenced to do? What is mainstream influencing to
Unity is
do?
the poultry or the petri dish. Culture is the petri dish. Like in science, when we had them little petri dishes, and you would like maybe put a couple bacteria in it or a couple of whatever, and you would just watch it. And sometimes it would grow, sometimes it would be moldy, sometimes it would whatever. I feel like the culture, the society we live in, is a petri dish, and the things we feed it determine what comes out. And right now, it's a very sick petri dish, and we're filling it with so much crap, and then we expecting these kids to grow out of it like pristine, and motherfuckers get confused when you see kids that are out here ODing and suiciding and all the stuff that goes along with mental health problems. We see it popping up in this next generation that have been completely cut off from the real world and completely like funneled into this fake reality of social media. This is what it's
Hmm.
doing to them. I don't know if we have the authority or the whatever to tell kids not to use whatever, because at the end of the day they're sovereign individuals, but it's just the incentives are set up so whack today that people don't really even know what's good for them. They just go with the flow and they don't understand that the flow is going into the sewer. That's where this flow is going. Like it's not somewhere where you want to be. And if you want to do your own thing, if you want to be a person for real, like if you want to stand up in this world and be something, you got to get out the river, bro. I don't want to say it like that. Like I don't know. I feel like people got to be willing to stand for something. And the only way we get to genuine relationships is if enough people start standing for what's real. Because I don't like the fake relationships. I don't know about you, but I would rather be by myself than entertain fake relationship, because that doesn't do anything for either of us. We just playing around, trying to placate each other's egos, whatever is going on. Maybe it's like I need to actually know that you're there for me. And then, yeah, let's ride. But other than that, I'd rather just keep it by myself. At least I can, if I disappoint myself, I'm the only person that I can blame. But it's like if somebody else is in my corner or supposedly, and then they flip on me, that's worse to me. I don't know.
And I don't know if you peep, but like the racetrack runner, I can't pronounce her name.
Shikari?
yeah, how
Mhm.
everybody was just like rooting for her, like as a community wise, and then you know, I guess she ended up coming back or whatever and having that race and kind of like came in last, and it was like, I mean, I'm just here viewing what people say. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't comment on it. I just see what
It's the
other
crate
people.
challenge. That's what it
It was
is.
just it was interesting to see how people reacted to it then. And it's just like as a community, it's like
If you're
how
doing good,
far do you,
we love you.
how
But if you
far?
don't, I don't know, man. Because that to me is it's just perfect example of how we just collectively we leech off of each other. It's that crabs in a bucket mentality. We leech off of each other if we can use each other to get to where we want to go. But when it comes to actually supporting somebody just because they are a person, just because they are human, we struggle with that. Especially, look, Nigerians are the worst. We are notorious. We should be running the world right now, but we can't get out of our own damn way because we always fighting each other. Every Nigerian you ever meet will think they are the best on the planet, the best at whatever they do. And that's partially because of how like just the petri dish of Nigerian culture is just hyper pride. That's how we roll. But we don't have that togetherness to where we can export that in a way that actually matters on the world stage. How it manifests is us scamming folks. Like that's how everybody knows Nigerians because they got all those scammers, bro. Like we experts, we got that entrepreneurial spirit down pat, but we can't use it in a way that actually encourages and inspires the world. We got to use it in a way that in many ways brings back negative energy, negative perceptions of who we are, and we play into it. We as much as we want to say, oh, it's because we're broken with this and that, the more we play into those images of ourselves, the more we allow these people to keep that perception of us, right? And so we have to start breaking it down eventually. I don't know. It's just it's a
And
sad
that's why,
state.
yeah, and that's why I'm so big on creating media and creating content, more so creating content for like children and whatnot, just so we can have an initial influence of
Yeah.
somebody that has the same goal, somebody that has the same mind. Because who's to know where these books are coming from? Who's to
Right.
know really R.L. Stein? I mean, I was reading those books when I was growing up, but who's to know?
Like, what is he
He
doing? What is he up to here?
I really supporting. Was he
Yeah.
coming to the community? Was he saying, "Hey, thank you guys for buying my books and supporting the Goosebumps Foundation"? It goes a Goosebumps Carnival, like the things that are
uh,
in our community, we see them really throughout, like all these Walmart set up. You have you ever seen a Walmart Carnival or anything? Just as far as just a community based effort to just bring and uplift people. But it's just like getting back to things like that, but
white people
knowing
do
that
it.
wow, it's
They be doing it all the time. They got their little farmers markets, they got their little clubs, they got everything. But for some reason,
mhm,
Asian people do it. They got their little section of Chicago. They keep that money flowing in there. Mexicans do it. They got their own little culture. They got Pilsen. They doing their thing. They got the festivals all the time. Jewish people do it. They collect their wealth and they do things to strategically make sure that they are not in the position to be oppressed again. Black people don't. Why is that? We can't work together. It's like we are brainwashed. And that's what I think it is. We don't have our own minds. You have a lot of
mm,
black people that are just faces for white ideologies and they don't even know it. It's crazy. And so we can't get
sure,
together because we're not connected.
bruh. So you really get the question, who do you really work for? And it's
Mhm.
like I got so big into the fashion because it's honestly about how I feel about how I represent myself on as far as my clothing. Like, yeah, I get it. You wearing a suit, you you work a fancy job, you get paid a lot. Like that's the community look, I used to work at a cleaners. He was like, people who used to bring my suits. Yeah, I got enough money to get my suit clean. So it's just like the perception of what you wear really brings about the climate of respect that you get. Who to say that I can't design my own clothes and obtain the same respect of whatever's given?
The thing about
And
respect is we should just
you
respect
know,
people, man. Yeah, my bad. I didn't even mean
it's
to cut you off, but go ahead.
no, and that should be the case. That should really be the case. But you know, what type of community are we living in now?
Mm.
Honestly, but we could look at, or we could look at one person and say, based on how they're dressed, I'm gonna treat them differently.
That's why people ask what you make. People oftentimes ask what your job is or what you make so that they can determine the amount of respect to give you. And it's a crazy thing because I feel like as human beings, we are all deserving of infinite respect. That's how I was raised. I was raised, I always talked to the custodian. I always said thank you to the bus driver. I always gave a little something to the dude on the street because I knew that I could be in that position. Not that any of those, well, I'm talking about the bus driver and stuff. That's not a bad position, but socially speaking, they're looked down upon like they're less than. And it's crazy to me. I don't know. Like it's all a lot of this life is situational. When you start realizing that the people that are rich are just rich because their parents were rich, or they're rich because they had a great opportunity somewhere in the beginning where it's like that book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers, where you start to realize that a lot of the things that we ascribe to personal talent or giftedness is actually the result of some menial, not really, it's not something that actually matters. Like, for example,
Mm.
he gave an example about like the NHL or like professional hockey and how most of the people who are professional hockey players were born between like January and March or something like that. Like 70% of the league was born in those 3 months. And he's like, why is that? And you realize it's because the people that were born in those first 3 months are right before the cutoff of the age groups when they're little. So essentially, they are playing with kids that are 7, 8, 9 months younger than them. And so they are a little bit better. And that little bit better allows them to play in the travel teams, which gives them maybe 15 more hours a week that they're playing. And then that compounds to where now they're the people that are the best in the high schools. And then they get the college recruits. And then they go to the NHL, all because they were born in the month of February, right? And so they might ascribe that to their ultimate skill, but at the end of the day, it's usually something that doesn't really matter. So it would behoove us to be more humble and actually start giving away to people or being kind to people just because you never know. Like you might be on this, like standing on sinking sand. And the way that you're going to treat those folks is how it's going to come back to you, in my opinion. But I don't know, bro. It's definitely a lot to unpack here. I don't want to go crazy with it, but community is definitely important for mental health. And the way that we get there is also important because it has to be authentic and it has to be something that we can actually be, I don't know, just genuine with each other, bro. Like we don't have to agree on stuff, but we have to be genuine. This political game a lot of people play, they can't even say the real, like they forget saying the right thing. They can't even say what's real, what's on their hearts because they are fearful. And if we have that, it's like everybody wearing a mask. No wonder we lonely. We don't even know who each other are. Like we talking to caricatures. We're not even talking to people anymore. I don't know, man. This has been on my mind a lot lately, just because of the way, like my situation and stuff. Just you just think about this a lot, and it's just like, damn, bro. Like all we got to do is be real with each other, and we can forgive all that bullshit. Like people who are truly, truly lonely, I feel like they get to a point where they don't give a damn. They're like, yo, I don't care what you did to me. I just want to love you, bro. Like let's just be real with each other. I'll forgive you, and then we can move forward. But it's like they have this, I don't know what it is, where they just feel like, I don't know, just too bought into the lie and too deep with whatever thing is going on to where they can't say anything. I don't know, but I just want to love people, bro. But it's like Folks won't let me. It's like unless you toe the line, and that's the thing I can't do. I don't know. But bro,
We in those times, man. That's
we in
all I
those
can say.
times for sure. Not bad. So with this phone, man. What else has been on your mind, bro? Because I know we kind of got that mostly out the way. That was mostly the thing I wanted to talk about, was just the idea of how we get back to community. But I don't know.
As far as solutions,
Yeah.
just creating efforts to help out. Just first off, in my household, just waking up every day with a goal in mind, making sure, like I was talking about last week, got a little man, but he ain't mine, but it's like, he's around and it's just, hey, you know,
How am I gonna?
first, if you around me, man, you in my community, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I take care of you. It's like,
It's that village to raise a child mentality that needs to come back as well. I think, like that whole idea of it's our kid in a way. Like, yeah, it's not biologically, but in a way, that's the future of us. Like, whatever that kid becomes is a reflection on this community, on what we did with that. Right. So if we just throw all these kids away because we don't want to be bothered, then it's gonna come back to bite us too.
man, for real.
A lot of lost
So
kids out here, man.
get to the point where, we want them to learn. We want them to be able to experience things.
Yeah.
Tell them what it is. Let's start, like you said, talking to people what's real. You know, start with the little one. Stop
Yeah.
with the baby. Really
Yeah.
tell them, hey, I
Yeah.
want you to do this or do that. Like, what do you ask them? Like I said, we got to talk to each other. Ask us what's on each other's mind. Like, dude, what's on your mind? What's on my mind? And so those are solutions in which where sometimes these dysfunctional behaviors kind of interrupt the way we talk to each other because that's what we kind of just rely on to express ourselves. But if we could find different solutions to be like, all right, I don't have to smack you or I don't have to do something behind your back to express how I feel. Like I could just come and tell you, but bro,
That's what
to
we need to
say
be back on.
it it's tough. It
Especially
is.
as black men, though,
Me
man. We
personally,
gotta lead the way. We gotta lead the way because these white folks don't know really our condition or how we maneuver. And I think this is gonna give me some flack. I feel like black women are in many ways they idolize the white man still. Like when he says something, oh, now that's serious. And in many ways, we have been devalued in the eyes of our black women. And so I'm trying to figure out how did that happen to where we don't even have the authority in our own communities anymore to make these calls.
this word called pygmalion comes to my mind.
Hmm.
I believe you spell it PYG
Like
million.
pigment. Okay.
Yeah. And basically it's like the altering the mind state of an individual to perceive someone as greater.
Hmm.
And it's like, for that to even be a term. So you mean to tell me that
It's a real thing. Yeah, bro. That's crazy. Self-hate is a very big business. They I think it's like 70% of the women in Nigeria right now bleach their skin to look lighter. That's self-hate manifesting as trying to look white. They're not gonna say that. They're just gonna say it makes me more comfortable in my skin and I need to do this for whatever, and this is what the men like, blah, blah, blah. It's a lack of confidence in themselves. They've been probably told from times they were little that you were ugly little black girl or something like that, which I'm not 100% sure would happen in Nigeria, but you never know. The self hatred could run super deep.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, they grow up with these ideas of what it means to be black that are not accurate. And so they end up wanting to change themselves to look like people who we have no business wanting to be like. Like white people are cool. Like I have no problem with them, but look, they not the end all be all. Like they ain't all that. I married one. I wanted to be like white people. That's why I have such a wide vernacular. As a kid, I wanted to be accepted. I had to read, I was reading my dictionary like nobody knows what. And then eventually when you get that proximity with them, you realize like, ooh, yeah, y'all not infallible. So why do we treat them like they are? This is just a off the cuff perspective. I don't even know if it's accurate. Maybe I'm being off, but to me, it just feels like there's a misvaluation, let's say, not just of other cultures, of ourselves. I feel like once you become comfortable in your own skin, you don't have to start looking outside anymore. And that's partially why we're so obsessed with the patriarchy or white supremacy. And in many ways, it's because we don't want to deal with our own shit. But that's another conversation. If we deal with our own identity and become confident and comfortable in our blackness, a lot of the other stuff goes away. we realize that it's all a facade and we are who we are, and that's beautiful. But we can't get there if we keep on thinking that there's the Pygmalion effect, that other people have more value than us just because of the color of their skin. Like it's crazy that like it's such a wild idea, but it's so pernicious too, because it's one of those ideas that if you don't deal with it at the root, it can come about in so many different ways to where a lot of black people really think that they're inferior. And it makes me so sad. I don't know, like it goes to that money thing, like maybe because I don't have a suit or something like that. Like that's why I'm, but you know, there's overlap there, right? Because I mean, I remember Jay-Z was one of the dudes that was like, I'll be on my suit and tie shit. But now he's off of that in a way. Like he started off with like, baggy clothes, doing his thing. Then he kind of migrated all the way over to the white world, corporate world, clean cut, suit and tie. And now he's kind of back in the middle. Got his dreads going. Sometimes he'll put a blazer on, but he's not wearing a tie anymore. I feel like it's this interesting evolution of Jay. But I think it kind of points to how we think of ourselves too. It's like when we want to get something from someone, we usually pander to that standard in order to get what we want. So you have a lot of black men acting like white men so that they can get the things that they want, which is usually money. But you have to understand that you're prostituting yourself when you do that. That definition of prostitution is to sell yourself. And I mean, in a way, a lot of us are prostitutes. Like I know we want to brag, like to rag on the folks that are doing it sexually, but a lot of folks out here, they don't really know what they're doing. They're just selling themselves, and it's not like I don't want to start doing that because there's a lot of people out here that probably fall under this category. But until we get out from under that idea that somebody else knows better and has to direct our path, we will always be finding some reason to pander and to try to get in cahoots with these people who are clearly not caring for us. And like it's like we trying to pander to our oppressors, and that's what make like y'all shout white supremacy all day, but then go run into the same people for the solutions. What? Why? Is there not any like is it because I don't know, man. The community aspect of it needs to start from us, because I'm all for everybody being together and there being no racism. I feel like I'm super on that side of integration. And not everybody agrees with me, especially black men. There's a lot of people that say we need to just build up our own communities first. And to be honest, I understand where that's coming from. Because if we don't know who we are, then we're going to keep on getting played by outside entities who keep on leveraging us against each other. So maybe we do need to make some sort of black state or nation, whatever, so that we can understand who we are first before going out into the world. I just didn't think we need to do that. I felt like being human beings was enough for us to have respect, but I guess not. I guess not. But anyway, people, if you made it through this far, I appreciate you. I don't know if you have any last words to say. We're closing in on half an hour, so I want to give the people respect their time and everything like that, respect your time. But I don't know, it was a little bit heavier today. Maybe we'll
Oh
get something
man,
lighter next week.
keys, man. Especially talking about everything in a whole. So
Yeah,
community is a big one. I feel like can
yeah,
definitely be expanded on some more. So
yeah.
you
Maybe we'll
know,
make a part two. Who knows? All right. All right, people. Find me on Instagram or Twitter at Time to Grow Dude. Find Willie at Lee,
Divine
Divine
Lee.
Lee with 3 eyes. Go ahead and check
I
us out. That's on IG, right? Instagram.
mhm.
Outside of that, check out my website, haruna.co.uk. I'm going to start publishing some stuff there soon. And hopefully in the future, we'll start making some waves in terms of doing some live shows, making these a little bit more interactive and engaging. But for now, if you watch it, we appreciate you. It's much love. We just trying to figure this out as we go along. So if you're here for the ride, then you one of the first ones. You on the ground floor of Apple HQ before they became what we know them today. So much love to you. I'll talk to you next week, bro.
Yes.
All right.